It's time to take A Therapeutic Dose, a prescription-strength reality TV podcast that explores the intersection of reality TV and therapy. Possible side effects may include entertainment, strong emotional reactions, and/or laughter. Here are your hosts, Ramona Ramirez and Margee Magee.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Therapeutic Dose, where we meet at the intersection of reality TV and therapy. I am Margee Magee, and with me is my dear friend and just like light of my week.
Oh, hi everyone. I am Ramona Ramirez. Margee, as always, likewise. So happy to see you today.
Same. And we're doing it. We're taking on Beverly Hills. So let's fucking go. The season brought to you by Ozempic.
Yes, brought to you by Ozempic, not hormones. And, if there was ever a franchise that really gives us so much material that applies to the concept of our podcast, it's this one. Holy hell.
Agree.
Yeah. And we've got an adult child of an alcoholic. We've got whatever Dorit is. We have a woman who is struggling with an eating disorder. We have a woman who's struggling with hearing from her children that she may or may not have been the mom that one of them needed, which broke my heart. We're dealing with a woman who is in middle age, wants to show her ex-husband, I have worth as an individual and I'm going to make it on my own. And then we have Erika.
I mean, just
Period.
a study in
Yes.
narcissism. Good
Yes.
Lord.
Listen, am I glad that she asked Dr. Mann how to be empathetic? Yes. Am I shocked that someone had to ask how to be empathetic? I was shocked, Margaret.
She's
I was
been in
shocked.
therapy. She proudly announces she's been in therapy for 2.5 years. And she's like, what's empathy? From them. I look at it from their perspective, from them, from their perspective. And even when she's like, when he dies, the doctor's like, you're going to have to prepare for it. And she's like, for it to hurt me. And I'm like, he's not dying at you. You're the one who said he's a million and he's a crook and he's under incredible stress.
Oh my
He's going to
God.
die. And he's not doing it to hurt you.
Yeah.
She's insane. I mean, and
It's
she's the total example of what I've quoted on this podcast before. My friend Drew Droege says, when you go on a diet, you get thin and that's all you get.
exactly.
She is as atrocious as ever and just,
Completely.
she's a string bean with like a chia seed for a head at this point.
Oh
She's
my God.
so thin. Now
She
you're talking to
is.
my eating disorder because I was just like, she's
Oh, yeah.
unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah. And then Kyle just being glad that it's not her that's being the one being talked about.
You know what?
Woo!
Honestly.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be a Housewives franchise without starting off with some casual racism and bigotry. We're talking about The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It is their season premiere, season 13, episode 1, and the title is The Eagle Woman Has Landed. I really hope that Eel Woman was paid a hefty, hefty sum, judging by, the woman was very well dressed and the jewelry is very expensive. Turquoise is extremely expensive. And I say get your coin from Bravo, get your coin from these production companies, because at this point, are the producers culpable in this? Like they know how people are going to react to something that is, not Judeo-Christian or westernized.
Well, PK was front and center,
Oh
just
my
being an
God.
absolute monster to this woman.
Yeah.
Now, look, Eagle Woman, like, yes, it's a hard first bite of a season to digest. They are really just punching us in the face with like, remember what this show is about? It's about appropriation and wealth. Enjoy. And honestly, I didn't even have a problem with Eagle Woman. It's when she introduced Nancy Blue Raven that
Blue
I was like,
Raven.
but Nancy, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure Nancy is an indigenous person. I just feel like
Oh, yeah. Okay.
we're
Okay.
really getting outside the realm here. We're
Yeah.
pushing our Beverly Hills limits. However, I will say this: I as much as I was like, oh no, PK's just beating the shit out of this woman, just relentlessly making jokes at her expense, and I hated it. But then it worked. like, whether Eagle Woman is, like, any good at what she does or not, it doesn't matter. Somehow, Eagle Woman gathered those women in Malibu, and they
Yes.
accomplished the goal that they had set.
Yep.
They wanted to
Yep.
talk about what had caused rifts from the season prior, and they all did honestly, and it ended in a group hug, and I'm like, "All right, let's go Eagle Woman, Nancy Blue Raven, and Grandfather Rock." They did it. The fucking dynamic trio, the holy trinity of Malibu. So,
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if we had if there was someone on this cast. I know that Joyce was I don't know, how many seasons ago was Joyce?
I can't
6,
even
7? But,
more maybe, yeah.
this is what happens when there is not indigenous or okay, so we all know, hopefully, we all know that California is occupied territory. It was Mexico. It was inhabited by indigenous and pre-Columbian indigenous people that are now Mexican.
The whole
And
United States belonged
exactly, the whole
to
United States. Exactly, exactly. And
yes.
so, you know, if there was someone like this in the production house, if there was someone like this on the cast, would we still be having these problematic scenes? Probably. Is it by design? Probably. But yeah, I was like, "Oh, god damn it, really? Is this really how I'm gonna go in? I'm just
It
gonna."
was just such an intense way to start because of all the people to introduce us to Eagle Woman. It's Dorit who has like her own weird accent that's indigenous of nowhere. And then her husband who is just I mean, I just kept thinking like why is he on camera for this scene? They must really need money. They must really need him to pull a
Oh,
salary from this season
well,
because he's miserable. He hates his wife. He despises Eagle Woman. And we had to sit through like that felt like forever. That opening scene went on for a lifetime.
it did. And speaking of money, I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look at the blogs today or Reddit, but PK and Dorit made a soft launch last night that their marriage may be ending. And it also came out, I read it on Reddit today, and there was an article, was it in People or it was in another tabloid that said Dorit was shopping in a supermarket. She had $10,000 in one of her bags in her cart and someone took it. So the woman has been robbed twice in 1 year, or yeah, in about a year or a year in the Bravo verse of whenever they start taping. And I don't really believe these divorces anymore because when Danny Masterson and Bijou Phillips are getting divorced,
To
this is to
protect
protect
assets.
assets.
Yep,
Exactly.
you're totally right.
If anyone knows anything about PK, he's in debt with millions of dollars, allegedly. He is a gambler, allegedly. Let's not forget the fact that his client with the most cachet is Boy George, who has been arrested and charged with kidnapping and torturing a man when he was in a drug-fueled rage.
And convicted. It's
And
not even
convicted,
alleged.
yes,
It
yes. No,
happened.
that wasn't alleged, yes. So, I am one of those people, I believe that when the house was broken into, I think it was an inside job. I don't know that Dorit knew about that it was gonna happen, but I don't believe that it was random.
That's interesting because I believe Dorit didn't know it was going to happen, but you mentioning that makes PK's resentment of her PTSD make a lot more sense. Because if he
Ooh,
orchestrated it, then he
yeah.
would be annoyed. He's like,
Yeah,
look, we got the cash. That was the whole point.
right,
You know, he can't,
right.
if he really did this, we're going into a deep conspiracy hole
Oh,
here,
yeah.
but they're deep in debt and people do really bonkers things, including and I'm sure PK thought he was protecting his wife if he did, in fact, orchestrate this by not letting her in on it. But in fact, he caused significant mental trauma.
I
And
mean,
his freaking kids were in the house. Like, yeesh.
yeah.
But if he
He's
knew that no one was going to harm them, then, just torture the wife and get
exactly,
the insurance
exactly.
settlement.
I don't know. I don't know who carries $10,000 cash in their purse.
Just
Money
what?
laundering.
Who
Money
carries
laundering?
cash at all
I
these
don't know. I
days?
never carry fucking cash and it makes me nuts. I need to at least have 20 or $40 in my wallet and I
I
hate going
always
to the
have
fucking
like
ATM.
a couple of each bill on me just because I found myself in situations, where you have to pay for parking and they won't take
Exactly.
whatever. But
Mhm.
in no world am I finding myself holding 10 grand in cash. I don't
Fuck
even know
no.
where you do a transaction like that.
I don't either.
Everything is direct deposit or something like that would at least be a check. Like, why do you have 10 grand in cash? That's insane. That's
Uh,
so shady.
I allegedly, it was around Christmas time, so maybe, I
Oh, it
think
was
that that's
gifts for,
yeah, but $10,000? Like,
I
don't rich
mean,
people use credit cards that have points?
but I do think rich people like to give cash to their staff. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
Because it's untraceable, for
True.
them, it's for the recipient's purposes. They won't be taxed or it won't show up anywhere. So that
I
may
just
be, but still, don't take your 10 grand to the grocery store. Like, run
dude,
that errand last. Just be
I don't
a
yeah.
person.
I got a little triggered when Dorit said that it was new age healing. It's not fucking new age, it's
It's
ancient.
old. I know.
Fuck all the
I
way
had the
off.
same thought. I
God
was like,
damn.
oh my God.
I know.
But again, it's just like, to me, it's just quintessential Beverly Hills. And I was
Yeah.
like, yes, 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 I'm on this ride. And you are putting
Yeah.
me in the front seat. And the roller coaster starts at the biggest drop because this is who
Ugh.
these women are. They're
You're
just
right.
so completely disconnected from humanity, reality, anything that isn't 90210, you know?
And I forgot to mention this. I'm sure you noticed this too, but not only does in the very beginning of the episode, not only does PK come in eating chips, he's carrying 2 bags of chips. This man is completely leaning into the fact that everyone last season was making ha ha ha. He's looking for his meme moment. This is not a this did not happen
No, I
organically.
agree. It was so
He's so
staged.
contrived. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, it was just, and the way she approached it was, again, just like a bad sitcom acting thing. It's like, 2 bags?
Yeah,
Oh, you're awful. And then he has the nerve to comment on Kyle's body later. I was like, can we just
I
set
know.
aside?
He's
We
trashy.
have enough eating issues. Yeah.
He's trashy. I don't know if he has a relationship with his he has other children.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Phoenix and Jagger are not his I don't believe they're his only kids.
Is that why he's in London all the time?
I don't know why he's in Lo the blind I read today said that he's in London. He bought a house there, and they're like, the
Yeah.
separation is well on its way. So,
Well, good. I'm glad for both of them. They
uh,
clearly, in just this one episode, I'm like, you guys hate each other and it's really uncomfortable. And in the previews for next week, when it looks like he threw her some sort of Valentine's surprise dinner, and he's like, well, I guess I'm just not going to do surprises anymore.
oh
And
my
she's like, it
god.
takes a lot to look like this. I was like, you guys hate each other.
I j
Let's
yeah.
bring this to its natural conclusion.
Oh, ew, 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 ew. I just can't imagine, like,
Mm-mm.
yeah, wanting
No,
to
no, even when they showed the pictures of their wedding, I leaned
ugh.
in because I was like, "Oh, let's see what he owe."
He
He's
looks
always
exactly
been PK,
he's always been PK,
and
and
she's always been Dorit,
she's
for
always been Dorit,
better or
and
worse.
she just happens to have be on her 4th face, you know? This episode had a lot of faces down the line.
Oh my god, I don't know if you touched in on, Watch What Happens Live after the episode.
I didn't.
First of all, good, because Teddy Mellencamp is shockingly boring. It's like her voice exists at a frequency that just doesn't register at all. Andy was asking her, like, pretty dramatic questions, and I think she was giving, like, juicy answers, but I was just like, "Phew, she's so boring." But my point is her face is on iteration 10,000, and
Teddy's
her
faces?
yes, and
Yeah,
she's clearly
wow.
also on Ozempic, and she was
Interesting.
thin to begin with, so, like,
Yeah,
we're trending toward a real danger zone now. Because if that's what
yeah.
she looked like on TV, where it kinda took my breath away, like, when you see people cross their legs, my mom, for example, just turned 82, and she has little old lady legs. They're after 82 years and not, like, a ton of active use these days, they start to wither. So when they cross, they literally it's like Muppet legs. It's like Kermit the Frog legs. But
Yes.
that's normal for someone who's
Oh,
82,
yes, yes.
that's the direction they move in. For Teddy Mellencamp to have Muppet legs, to have Kermit the Frog legs, I was like,
Muppet legs.
you're going too far. Your eating disorder is yelling at me, and my eating disorder is yelling right back.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah. Oh my god, and poor Crystal. Anyway, we're jumping all over.
Crystal, what happened to Crystal? She doesn't
Crystal
even exist vexed in this
I
episode.
know,
What
but
happened?
when Erika walked in to the retreat and Crystal's like, "Oh, I wanna," she said something like, "I wanna lose weight," or I
I
wanna
want
disappear," or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
because they were having the, like, thinnest woman in the world
exactly.
competition or whatever. A lot of skinny chatter in this episode, a lot.
I I love Garcelle so much. It's not a secret. I love Garcelle. I love Sutton. And when Garcelle said, "Is that her god? Is that her government given name?" I was like, Garcelle, you come from a colonized fucking country where traditions and names were erased and continue to be erased as people from Haiti came to the United States. Can we not?
You know,
Like, I expected more from Garcelle about that, you know?
I agree. However, I bet if you said that to her, because I had the same thought, I was like, this is unusual for Garcelle to be like picking at something cultural,
Yeah.
superficial. It's like, it's very strange. But then she said how nervous she was. And I think she was just making like nervous chatter. And that is the, hallmark of racism of like
Mm,
picking an easy other to sort of
okay.
point your energy toward. I'm not
Okay.
suggesting that it's acceptable or
I hear you.
forgivable, but once they started talking more, I was like, okay, so you're really nervous and that you're taking a cheap shot at the easiest target, which is Eagle Woman,
Right.
as arranged by
Which,
Dorit. It is
which
insane.
I mean, my sister, when my niece was like still a toddler and she was in daycare, I believe she was in daycare with the child of a Scientologist who rubbed shoulders with a lot of people in the pro skating and the underground music scene. And his child's name, I believe their name was Inspector Pilot or something. I know the name Pilot was involved. So, like, Eagle Woman is gonna be a weird name in the realm of Los Angeles? In the
Look,
realm of hipster doofy and Silver Lake naming their children? Like, fuck!
I swear to God, I swear. Just and again, I probably am just trying to find something in defense of Garcelle because I love her so much,
I
and
know,
she's
me
sort of my only
too.
saving grace in this cast. But I swear it has more to do with Dorit booking Eagle Woman
Okay.
than it does to
Okay.
do with Eagle Woman. I
Okay.
bet if Garcelle was just rolling up to this retreat to visit Eagle Woman, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But Dorit is the added layer of like, what in the actual is going on
Yeah,
here?
that makes
Like,
sense. Okay.
that is an added layer, a layer of madness.
I'll put my cynicism aside for
No,
that
you're
one.
right. It's contempt prior to investigation
You're
either
right.
way. So
You're
there's
right.
work to be done should Garcelle ever decide to look at that scene, that moment in her life.
Oy, oy, oy.
Oh,
So yes, I know we've jumped all over in the
I
first
know.
20 minutes, but PK Dorit greeting Eagle Woman and Blue Raven, and then it's the montage of the ladies getting ready to go to the quote unquote retreat organized by Dorit, which is just what Margie said. Everyone's like, Dorit did this? Okay. And so we find ourselves at the retreat, probably in the hills around Malibu.
It looks
And
beautiful,
it did
that
look
ranch.
beautiful. It looked
Yeah.
gorgeous. And horses, and there's a tent. Someone said the word teepee, and I was
Oh,
all,
Erika
great.
said the word
Yeah.
teepee. So again, when you get thin, that's all you get. You
Yeah,
don't get a better
exactly.
perspective. You don't
Nope.
get anything. It
Nope.
just, yeah.
As someone who has dabbled in injectables and would like to dabble more in injectables, Kyle's face is taking me a while to get used to.
Kyle can't even talk.
Kyle,
In one of her
yeah.
confessionals, when she's talking about Sutton and Kathy, Sutton trying to maintain a friendship with Kathy. Her literally, she says, like, does Sutton want to stay with Kathy because of the parties? The parties. Like, she can't get her upper lip to touch her
Oh,
lower lip to say
yeah.
party because she's so filled and frozen. And again, as someone who filled her whole face and had it all dissolved because that was the outcome, I looked insane and it pulls its weight in your face. So it like pulls down on your eyes and your lip doesn't move. So you have to learn how to talk with your lower lip. It's And Kyle hasn't mastered it yet. And so, yes, agreed. It's very noticeable and distracting.
Hey, she looks fantastic. Like, I mean,
So did
like,
I when I was sitting still and not talking. But the
I
minute you
see.
try to live a life with fillers, then it's like, uh-oh.
It's just looking, having watched this woman for 13 seasons, yeah, and I kept trying to say, maybe it's just that she's always been a very slim woman, a very thin, petite person. And we all know that her body has changed significantly. And I just hope she's happy. That's all I want for any of these women, is for them to be happy. Erika Girardi, I hope Erika Girardi has the day she deserves. But, and I'm not trying to bash on Kyle. It's hard when it's just outside work and not inside work. And it's also hard just when you have to get to know someone again.
I
You
totally
know?
well, and I felt that way about most of these women. I can't say it enough how every time Erica was on screen, I was like my brain was trying to like make sense of her look. She's so extremely thin. And especially coming off, they had the flashback to her talking to the therapist on Zoom with her face all puffy because she was like
Yeah.
crying and going through it. And but that was the Erica I recognized. And this one
Yeah.
is just like so slim and tight. And it'll take a couple episodes for me to like drop into like, and this is who they are this season.
Yeah.
These are the
Yeah.
faces we'll get to know for these 20 episodes.
I mean, this is a complete sidebar, but we drove to San Diego last week and we had basically just hit the road. We made a stop in Long Beach and then we were on our way to San Diego. So we stopped at a Starbucks in Orange County. And this was not a crowded Starbucks, Margie. There were probably 10 people. Every single woman in there that wasn't in high school or me had like a face that was purchased in a med spa or a plastic surgeon's office. And I was like, I'm home, baby. Like, in one hand, it was really jarring to see it. And on another hand, it kind of just, Southern California is going to Southern California. And
She sure is,
it's just the
man.
work looks a little bit better in Beverly Hills. I don't know.
It does. It does. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it was Kyle's new. It was I think it's like you're saying, it's the combination of everything. She's like ultra thin, ultra fit, like she's shredded, and
yeah,
her face has a new contours, new shapes, and she doesn't speak the same because of it.
her lower lip is really large.
Her everything is just it looks not in a bad way, but it looks a little funhouse mirrory. Like it's just a little extreme of what maybe she was going for. But like, I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll get used to it. Again, in like two
Yeah.
weeks, I won't recognize her any other way. But this was just like there was so much that was just shocking about how we entered this episode.
It was. It
It
was
was
shocking. The whole episode was just nonstop shock.
it
Shock
was a
after
lot.
shock.
I literally felt at the end of it, I was like, that could have been a whole season for me. Like each
Completely.
one of these scenes I could talk about for an hour at least, but
Mhm.
I'll try not to. But
And, it is Halloween in less than a week, so, yeah, the personalities and the behaviors and just all of it was very, scary as I pull my skin up to see what I would look like without
oh,
label folds.
I'm well aware of what
Kyle
I'll look
had
like.
none.
I know.
Yeah, she
And
had
that's
none.
partly why I was obsessed with Erica Jane is her jawline. I was like, "Ooh, you got that lower face and neck lift that I really want." And it looks great. You're a
Yeah.
horrible person, but your neck and lower
Ugh.
face look exquisite. So, you
Bless,
know.
bless, bless, bless.
Anyways, we got our skinny chatter. Dorit, I thought was funny. It was hilarious to me that everyone's like, "You're so thin, Erica," and she just goes, "Hormones." It's like, wait, that wasn't. Nobody asked a question. Why would you say that?
Oh,
You are going
God.
to be horrible on the stand if you're called into court because you just said what you
Money
said
laundering.
hormones. I
Yeah,
know. You said hormones, but what we all heard was Ozempic, which is the truth, and that's fine. And
completely.
I loved Erica's confessional. The producer made me laugh so hard. She goes, "People think I'm on Ozempic." And the producer goes in this like flat, monotone, Ben Stein, Bueller voice. He goes, "Ozempic or Wegovy, and are you?" He's clearly asked every one of these women 100 times. He
Oh my
knows they're going to
God.
lie. And then she weirdly sideways body shames by going like, "I'm not. I'm on hormones, and everyone else should be too." And I was like, "Well, what?" Like, you're
Yeah.
everything you're saying is, like, passive aggressive body shaming, and it was
Oh,
a
god damn it.
very
Yeah,
strange denial,
do
intense.
whatever you want.
Thank
Anybody, do
you.
whatever you fucking want,
And
but
we all
just
want
don't
to.
lie about it.
That's the thing, is we all want to. So why are you lying about it? Why is it fine to get lip filler, but it's not fine to whatever. We've had this conversation 100
We
times on this
have.
podcast, but I'll
We
never get
have.
over it because again, the second it's over the counter, mark my words, it's going to sell out every time it's in stock. And
Everywhere. It's
I
gonna
will be in
be
line at every pharmacy trying to get my hands on mine. We all
Tickle
will.
Me Elmo of the fucking pharmacy aisle.
And it's not even just the thin factor. It's the fact that what they're learning about this drug is that it curbs your desire to eat things that are detrimental to your health. You are apparently, I read, people on this become less interested in sugar. If I could be less interested in sugar, I would do my whole life a huge favor. People are less interested in, snacking, in emotional ways and whatever. It does something that seems incredibly supportive to good long-term health and emotional well-being. So
Yeah.
that I'm past my trying to be a thin ingenue prime. Now I just would rather if it's dinner time and I'm feeling lazy, I would rather not hear the siren song of M&Ms. If those guys could just shut up, then I would eat a better choice. But like sometimes I'm tired and I eat M&Ms because I love sugar. Like I
Yeah.
love it and I don't want to. And
Yeah.
if something that I could inject in my belly once a month could make M&Ms quiet down a little bit, be fucking great. I'm hearing myself talk and I realize I need to go to an OA meeting. So
No,
I look,
no,
I
no, not necessarily. Not
it's
necessarily. Not
disease
necessarily.
maintenance. It's just keeping up with, but
It's
whatever.
just it's the balance, like you said,
It's a tool. It
like
would be a
Drew
lovely
said.
tool.
Exactly. That's
That's
all it
all.
is.
Yep.
Because just because you're thin, Shannon was fucking thin when she almost, killed her dog and wrecked somebody's house and possibly her life.
And potentially a
So,
pedestrian. Like there were so many
exactly.
ways that broke well for her.
So, but I guess, yay, you're thin. So, any hoot.
So we get into the therapy opening with sage tea, which
Sage
sounds
tea.
gross, but fine. And then this eagle woman makes some long proclamation about like eagles and the sun and the creator and wisdom, and it's lost on these women. And, you know, forget what you know, remember what you forgot. We'll surely wind up on merch of hers somewhere. More
Oh
power
my
to
God.
her. Um, Dorit starts by confronting Erika about publicly disparaging her marriage at BravoCon. And Erika immediately gives us everything that we expect. And she's defensive and she says, I didn't want to answer the question. And me on my couch, I'm screaming, then don't. Like Andy
Honestly,
Cohen is not holding a gun to your head. The audience isn't a mob with pitchforks coming at you if you don't like or lie. Say anyone else. Say Archie and his ball. Like it just doesn't you don't have to send up your friend like
right?
that. You did not
Say
have to.
say plot twist, me and Tom, Anyway,
Exactly.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then to say like, Dorit, I'm a showman. I'm like,
Oh my
are
God.
you? Because
I
every
was
review of you says to the absolute contrary.
It was embarrassing. It was
Yes.
embarrassing. Again, to quote Gen Z, it was cringe AF. It was bad. I gave the people what they wanted, okay.
Well, then you're an asshole for doing that
Yeah.
because that's a
Yeah.
selfish motivation. You're
It really
selfish and you
is.
suck, and end of discussion. If you're that desperate to please the people, and we know the people at BravoCon, we're them, we're that demographic.
Right.
We're not that demanding, we'll move on.
Right.
So, yeah, she wanted that moment and she, you know, defended her choice.
Oh, Lord, 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 Lord. I don't know if you happen to watch Kyle's face. They panned to her for a hot second when the circle was opened and Dorit was going to say what she was going to say to Erika. And Kyle just had that like little Kyle smile on her face when she's just like a little imp Kyle, like hee 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 hee. like partly happy that she's not the one, and then partly happy that, someone's gonna get the verbal beat down. But oh, Kyle, so much crying from Kyle. Kyle needs to go to therapy with someone who has a forte, whose focus is on the addicts and how addiction affects the family. That is, you can write that on my epitaph. I would tell her that to her face,
To this face.
to
To
this, yeah, to this.
Kyle 2023.
I would tell it to Kyle's
I would
2023
tell it to
face.
any of our faces.
I would tell it to any of her faces, right.
Yes, I totally agree,
Yeah.
and that became clear, and we'll get there. In that final
Yes.
conversation with Mauricio, I was like, "Oof, Kyle, you need
Oh my
therapy
god.
so bad."
Oh
And
my
I will
god,
say, you
yeah.
can sort of see that Dorit has been in therapy, the way she addresses the situation with Erika. She says, like, "I was hoping you might lead with an apology instead of being defensive." Instead of just screaming at her and being, whatever. She gave Erika, she opened the floor for Erika to have an opportunity to try a different way. So she defended it, which was monstrous. And then Dorit was like, I'd hoped maybe we'd go down the path of an apology. And Erika did offer a classic Housewives non-apology apology. If I was rough and
Oh god
vicious,
damn
if
it.
I was blah, blah, blah. You were all of things, so your apology is incomplete and self-serving at best, but fine. And then she further turned it back on Dorit and goes, "Well, is your marriage strong?" And
Oh my
it's like,
god.
"Oh boy,
Yeah,
that's not the point of this at all. The point is if you're a terrible friend.
right.
Was your marriage strong?
I mean,
Seriously? Like, what the hell?"
one of my Al-Anon sponsors, and she was like my surrogate big sister that I never had. She would always tell me that, Mona, if you know you're not blue and someone comes up and they're like, "You're blue," and you know you're not blue, then it doesn't matter what anyone else says.
Mhm.
And I understood what Erica meant by saying that. Like, listen, if I say that your marriage isn't strong and it is, then who cares what I say? But people weren't doing that in front of to me. Like, I wasn't having the experience of someone doing it about my relationship in front of 50,000 screaming rabid fans from someone that was supposed to be my fucking friend. My friend who was saying that to me was saying it in regards to a stranger or whatever, and I still think of that to this day. It will never leave me. If I really love myself, no matter what anyone says, it's not gonna keep me up at night if they think I'm a certain way. Is there a part of me that's gonna wanna defend myself? Sure. Is there a part of me that's gonna wanna prove that I'm not that person that they think I am? Sure. But it's like if I know at the end of the day that I'm not blue, then I don't care. Oh my god, I'm sorry. This is irrelevant.
No, it's totally on point. But I do think that it for Erika, she used that as like a detour from taking any accountability. I
100%.
shouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
because the question is not, are you blue? The question was like, Erica went in front of a crowd of people and says, Dorit's blue. So it's
Yeah.
like she just shouldn't have said that because, like you said, that's her friend. What's at
Her
question here is
fuck.
the thoughtfulness and carefulness in that friendship. And
Yeah.
Eric, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. We all know it's true. Dorit and PK have been, you know,
Ugh.
nobody's pining after that. That's nobody's like marriage goals there. So we don't really care.
Fuck
What
no.
matters is that as her friend, as Dorit said, you walked the runway, planted yourself at the end of it, said Dorit and PK, and then sashayed back to your seat with a real satisfied little smirk on your face. That's gross. As a friend, that's gross.
And the dumb fucking pigtails on top of her fucking head to
Oh
boot.
my
I
God.
hate that look on an adult. Am I an asshole?
No, and it's Erica Jane too. It's her pulling that. Like I just can't. I don't know what she is, and I always feel like a little unstable with her fashion choices because at least Dorit's fashion choices are crazy, but I know what they are. It's all going to be labels. It's all going to be diamonds. It's going to be too much of things that I recognize and would never spend my money on.
Right.
Erica Jane is like, one day I'm in, like PVC tubing, and the next day
Right.
I'm wearing like little kid pigtails. It's
Oh my
like,
god.
I don't know what you are, and none of it's working for me because you're just mean. At the end of the day, you're just mean, and that overrides any fashion choice you made
She's
too.
mean and she doesn't pay her designers their bills. She fucking sucks. Oh my god. I don't know who talked next.
Well,
Kyle?
we quickly have Sutton's confessional where she said this thing that I don't care. PK apparently was rumored to be with a woman when he was
Oh, that's
stopped for a
right.
DUI,
Yeah, that
which
came out.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I believe it's true because if you hang out with Mauricio all the time, who's a notorious cheater, you're gonna do that behavior. If you're in London instead of with like, fine. I just don't care. Like, I don't know. It's just PK's attitude toward Dorit is so harsh these days that it does make me feel like he's with someone else who sort of is feeding that, like, it could be easier, it could be more fun. Because I've been in
Oh.
that situation. There's a difference when you're fighting with a partner who's still in it with you. And I've noticed because I've unfortunately had a pattern of dating people who by the end are stepping out.
Mm.
There's a difference to the tone of those fights. It's really like you're annoying as opposed to like
Yeah.
this is an annoying situation. Let's try and work through it as best we can. It becomes like you're a problem, you're annoying. I'm not appreciated because someone else is appreciating you because you haven't sat with them for 20 years or however long these people have been married. Anyways, he appears to be having easy fun elsewhere, so Dorit
Ew,
appears to be
gross.
extra offensive to him.
Who's having fun with fucking PK?
He presents as rich, man. There's plenty of people who are on board for taking that ride, and I don't blame them. I just feel sorry for them because I'm not sure PK can deliver in the end.
Oh my god.
Then so Dorit, this is where Dorit's therapy did come through, I thought. She said to Erika, "You're hurting, and so you lash out and you're mean-spirited." And I was like, yes.
Yep.
Dorit delivered that like in a very non-confrontational way, and I thought that was nice. Erika then cries and says she justifies her behavior by making herself the victim, saying it was a hard couple of years for me. And then she blames everyone else. We all hurt each other in this group. And then she victimizes herself
Oh
again. I was
god.
getting hit from all sides. And it's like, okay, fine. And Garcelle is us in her confessional. And she's like, do I believe anything Erika's saying? TBD. I'll give her a chance. It's nice to see her emotional, but it's hard to believe.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, how would I react if my partner was someone who was accused/guilty of doing what Tom Girardi did, and the first person that came into my mind was Ruth Madoff, and I don't think she was out there talking to the tabloids saying anything other than, "I did not fucking know," and I don't think that she knew. I don't
I don't
know
think so
enough,
either.
and, I do think that Erika knew, but even if she didn't, when she behaves like this, it's hard for me not to think that she didn't know
I mean, I think she's just
or that
so
she did know.
I'm not qualified to take her inventory, but I will briefly. I think she's so mentally ill that this like overreaction of being defensive, of being innocent, she's lost the thread of like what's really important. That like
Yeah,
people who are dead or injured for life have been robbed. That to me should override everything, and I think to any human
exactly.
being it would. But to her, she's like, "I'm not guilty. I didn't know." And I do believe her. I think but for her to say, she says it later on, like, "Tom, I was married to the most unsupportive man." I'm like, "You were absolutely were not. You married exactly what you got into it for. He gave you money for your dumb career and to live a separate life from him. And that's what you did. I don't believe you knew anything. But I'm with Crystal's husband who's like, you did spend the money.
You
And
did.
once you know how that money was earned, a any sort of normal substantive human being would be like, oh my God, I bought these earrings on the back of a burn victim who couldn't get his skin graft because he wasn't paid.
Oh,
Blah. Maybe I
Jesus.
don't need these earrings. Maybe
Right,
I do, just for now. I don't,
right.
but she cannot think that way. She's so, oh God, something's wrong. Something's very wrong. She's sick.
She is. She's
She's
very
sick.
sick. She's very sick, and it's hard to have empathy for someone when they don't take responsibility or they don't take ownership over their behavior. And that is still something that I struggle with and have to talk about in therapy to this day, you know?
Preach. So then it's Kyle's turn, and she
That's
confronts
right.
Erica and all of the women basically for being passive about supporting her when it came to her rift with Kathy and the reunion. I didn't really understand. She lost me here. I was like, I'm glad you're not a punching bag. I'm glad you don't feel like you need to defend Kathy, but I also don't know why you expected everyone to fly out of their seats at the reunion to hug you. It wouldn't have felt appropriate. They showed the footage, and I was like, even if I was Kyle's best friend in that moment, it seemed too tender to go over and take sides between sisters in that moment.
Also, just the shock of seeing what was going down. I mean, whenever family drama goes down in front of people that aren't in that family, it's you don't really know what to do. It's you kind of freeze. I kind of freeze,
Well,
I
and
don't know
that
that I would say anything.
no, and that may be our, like, alcoholic upbringing coming to
100%.
light because Kathy's scary.
She
They
is
showed
terrifying.
that one clip from the reunion footage, and my heart stopped and I stopped breathing
The
because
one
I
that
was like, yeah, I
Kyle,
was like, I just
yeah.
want to be invisible and not be part of this because she seems like Kyle later reveals, she's on a hair trigger and she could go off, and I don't want to be in the line of fire. Untreated Al-Anons or alcoholics don't care who the target is. They have a preferred target, but if they're not available, they'll take whoever stands up. And I don't blame anybody for not standing up when Kathy Hilton took that tone. Holy crap.
And Kathy Hilton has no motivation to change. There's no reason for Kathy
Absolutely
Hilton
no. And she has all the
to
power to destroy you. If you become a
exactly.
target, she can destroy you. That is
Right.
perfectly in her purview.
I
So
mean, for all we know, she's sitting in her Beverly Park house with all of her billions of dollars. And why do I need to change? Look at my life working out. Here's my Halston outfit. And is this where Kyle says, I know I'm an adult, but it affects me like a child?
yes, she
Yeah.
mentions that she has a hard time answering Kathy's calls because
Mm-hmm.
Kathy is prone to venting in a what sounds like a rageful and scary way and potentially personal to Kyle. And she says, get sheer panic when I see she's calling. I know I'm an adult, but it affects me like I'm a child. And I was like, go to therapy
Go to
immediately.
therapy, go to fucking Al-Anon, do not pass
Yes.
go.
Yes.
This is why I wanted to do this podcast with you to talk about this because I remember during the reunion seeing these two adult children of an alcoholic, like seeing their roles in that dynamic play out in front of us. And I'm like, why is nobody else talking about this? You
I don't
know?
think I totally agree. I'm desperate for anyone in that crowd to get in a 12-step room. Al-Anon
Yeah.
would be preferable because I think somehow they're all affected. But it is interesting that relationship dynamic. Kyle talks about it later. She talks about that Kathy was the big sister, and so she never talked back to her. And in my head, I'm like, well, of course, you were raised in an alcoholic household. Parents, whether they're alcoholic or allanonic, are not available to parent. So that falls on the eldest sibling, and that was Kathy. And Kyle now resents Kathy for being in that position. Kathy resents Kyle because Kathy was a kid and had to parent because her parents were alcoholics. So it's the cycle that can only be, in my experience, can only be unwound and addressed with therapy supplemented by Al-Anon. That's the only
Mhm.
way I found my way through
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
feelings. And I feel for
Mhm.
Kathy. She's not interested in being
No, absolutely not.
introspective, so
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with her.
Exactly.
I feel for her, but I feel for Kyle as well because it's like that declaring your independence that way, as they say in 12-step rooms, when people pleasers stop pleasing people, people are not pleased. So she's going to
That
have
is
a lot
it's
of
tr
problems with
and we saw
Kathy,
that
with
play out
Mo,
in the
with
last
everybody.
in the last scene. That was
Yep.
I wanna yeah, anyway, we're jumping on this
Sorry. I
this
know.
episode was chock fucking full of bullet points to discuss with a therapist.
Dense. Yes. Yeah, Sutton
And
sort of
then
takes us out with the summary of like, we all have regrets and I'd like to see us do better. And Eagle Woman and Dorika's, thank you, Eagle Woman. Thank you.
Oh my god.
So obnoxious.
And they all hug in their designer puffers and their the fucking Louboutin hiking boots. Oh my
And
god.
that's the end of Crystal. We never see her again for the
You're
remaining.
right.
I
Oh, that
was
was so weird. And then we go to Jennifer Tilly showing up at Sutton's store, and I was so excited. I have written on Jennifer Tilly's page and on Sutton's page, please, 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 can Jennifer be a housewife? I would love it
agree.
so much. I love her. I love her. I love her. I
I would
love her.
watch the Sutton Jennifer
Oh
Avi
my God,
show.
so would I.
I loved Avi. I
So would
thought
I.
the relationship between all three of them, I'm like, who is putting this on TV for the summer. This is my welcome to Crappy Lake pitch for
Oh,
20 summer
totally.
2024.
I just hope that Sutton's nice to Avi. I
I think
really
she
do.
is. I
I
think
hope so.
they have that they have a dynamic that makes me feel like tickled as opposed to the dynamic that like Bethany has with her driver, where that person just seems like trapped and she insists on talking to him about her life and about her, you know, bloody vagina. And like, I don't know
Oh
if you
my
remember
god.
those
I
episodes, but this
do.
poor driver was just like, oh dear. She's like, I started bleeding out in the Target. And he was like, oh no. But Sutton and Avi seem to have like a rapport, like when she's in that confessional and she's like, he's my house manager. And he's off camera going, property manager, director of
Director of
operations.
operations.
And she
Yeah.
giggles and is like, you're not on camera. Like they're cute, I think.
Uh, Seeing that one when she's like, "You're not the one on camera," I was all, "Uh-oh, Avi." But
You
yeah,
know, but she did give Avi lots of camera time. He opened the
she did.
scene and there was nothing to say. She was pretending to be a busy working woman and saying like, we have cashmere to buy and a horse.
Oh, oh
But it
my
gave Avi
god.
camera time and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I would totally watch that. I love Jennifer Tilly dresses so fucking
Yes.
cute. Her spouse, who is now deceased, may he rest in peace. He was a very loving man, cared greatly for animal rights. His name was Sam Simon, co-creator of The Simpsons. They were married, they were deeply in love, and she inherited his fortune. So she has what you would call fuck you money. She probably has more money than Terry DeBro. Now, she doesn't act like fucking Terry DeBro, which is part of why I love Jennifer Tilly. And she also doesn't dress like Dorit. Wealth whispers, money screams. Money screams, wealth whispers.
Money talks, wealth
Money talks,
whispers.
wealth whispers.
Yep.
She wears a lot of vintage. She wears what she likes. She wears what she thinks is cute. Her fucking bracelet on her left arm was I was obsessed with it.
Even her
Sh
sunglasses, like everything
I just
about her
love
look
her
was
head to
and
toe.
I just wrote in all caps and I bolded it. I just wrote wealth. Because it's
Yes.
exactly what you're saying. It is the reason you and I both react so strongly to Heather and Terry Dubrow is that they scream at us how rich they are. These women, Jennifer Tilly walks in just looking like a literal $1,000,000. She's
Mhm.
just stunning without telling us who she's wearing or anything. Sutton opens the door and says, displays this gorgeous cheese board. And she says, I just put this out to be decorative. But just in passing, she's like, that's just there to be decorative. Anyways, and like that to me is wealth. It's just like
Totally.
you don't open the door, you don't invite someone over unless you have like a gorgeous cheese platter. No one's gonna touch it, but it's for,
Yeah.
it's ornamentation for the event. They go to
Yeah.
fashion shows all over the world. She mistook salted caramel for an earplug. She impulse bought a Scandinavian thoroughbred. Wealth, 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 wealth,
I
wealth.
know. These
I
are
just
my
love it.
kinds of housewives. I love
Yes.
these housewives.
Yes.
And I did love the conversation that they had. I totally, as a stay-at-home mother who has some residual shame about that and who feels at times less than for not earning a paycheck. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know that that was going to come with being a stay-at-home mom. I didn't know that those feelings were going to come with it. And I often don't feel like I do as much as I should to be a stay-at-home mom. Like I have felt bogged down by my own depression at times and my own crippling ADHD at times. And so I feel like I'm a failure doing things like coming up with menus for dinner. I would rather clean the toilet without wearing gloves. Like, I would rather do a lot of things than come up with what to make for fucking dinner. And those things are probably on the stay-at-home mom checklist of things that you should do, like required duties. So I feel shame. I feel shame.
Don't you think this is what I found so interesting about this episode? I had such a strong reaction to Sutton saying, I want my kids to be financially autonomous. And I'm like, but your kids got you. Look at the next scene. Garcelle's kids are pissed because she left for 3 weeks, which to a 15-year-old feels like a year, apparently.
Mm.
Like, you cannot win as a woman. You cannot.
Okay.
So
Okay.
either
Okay.
you're Sutton and you're home for your kids and you're put on an allowance and you do a great job, and then you feel insignificant or unworthy once your children have left. But your children got like Garcelle's kids would kill to have her home all the time so they could. It's you just can't win.
You
You
can't
can't
win.
win.
You're right.
And
You're
I
right.
loved Garcelle for saying she loves her work. It's not that she has to. That's part
Yeah.
of it. But she also loves it. But there is, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is that the Supreme Court justice? Why is my
Yes.
brain okay? Still on cold
Yes.
medicine. She said, "You can have it all, just not all at the same time." And her daughter is vocal about, I did not have a mother. She worked constantly. She was the only woman on the Supreme Court. She lived at her office. I did not have her. And later in life, they were able to resolve some of that. But like, we don't get Ruth Bader Ginsburg if her daughter gets her. So I don't know what the grand scheme of the world
Yeah.
is, but like,
Yeah.
my heart just broke for everyone because every
Oh,
woman who is a parent appears to feel inadequate, and that breaks my heart because I do think a stay-at-home mom job seems impossible. Like it's isolating and it's demanding and
Jesus
it's
Christ.
thankless
It's so lonely. It
and
is so
lonely.
fucking
But then if you
lonely.
go to work, you come home to a kid who's like, "Where are you? Why aren't you home?"
Right.
Being lonely and choosing
Right.
what to make me for dinner. And that's
Right.
devastating. Like your heart is just gonna be stomped at some point. And I don't see that to be true. Maybe it's just because this is a housewives show, but I just don't see the men in my immediate world or on these shows having that same experience. They just don't. They're praised when they get to spend time with their kids, and otherwise they're not expected. Not much is expected. And that's just old. I don't know if it's biological, if it's patriarchal, I don't know what it is, but it's old programming. We all have it. And it just seems like mamas get a big kick in the stomach no matter what they do.
Oh,
It's
God.
so hard. And you're a
Yeah.
great mom, and Leo is an amazing like, that is evidence of it. He's such a great kid, and it's because there's security and stability in his world, you know?
Yeah,
But
that's
it
true. There
robs you of a
is.
lot, I know that. I know it takes away your adult independence in lots of ways.
It does, and that's what's hard. As far as stuff that I talk about in therapy, I talk about the stay-at-home mom stuff a lot, and I related to Sutton Strack.
Listen, but that's how to me, I found it profoundly interesting that, like, she's on a $300,000 a month stipend, okay?
Mhm.
And still struggles with the emotional
Yep.
fallout of financial autonomy,
Yep.
not having it for so
Yeah.
long. It would be so wonderful if money solved all problems, but these shows are glorious evidence to the contrary. This woman has so much money, like I can't even do the math in my head as to what $300,000 a month adds up to in a year. I could, but I won't. But it's more than I need to conceive of. I know she's fine. She has, like you say, fuck you money all over the place. If she's
Yeah.
buying a steed over the internet from overseas, she's fine.
Santos.
But
Santos is beautiful.
Santos is beautiful. He's very special. And she doesn't need him. He's in the Netherlands. She's not writing him. I don't care that he can pull a carriage. That's
Oh
not a
god.
relevant fact. But it's the money is not fulfilling something, deeply important to her. So yeah, and I love
We
that she
all
can
hurt.
talk to her friend about it,
I do
you know?
too.
That was
We
super honest and lovely.
we all hurt. We're all humans, whether you're a millionaire or a billionaire or a thousandaire or a dollaraire, like we're all and being thin doesn't fucking solve
No, it
shit.
doesn't change anything.
Yeah, every single scene's been pretty fucking deep. And then we go to Erika with Dr. Mann. Unless do you have anything else to add about Sutton and
Oh,
Jennifer
no, I
Tilly?
don't. Do you remember Dr. Mann from, she
Oh,
was the
yeah.
couples therapy.
Yes.
Okay.
She was on couples therapy, and she also was the therapist that was on Celebrity Rehab. And
Yes.
this is when she went by Dr. Jen Berman when she was still married. I don't know if Mann is her maiden name or if it's God, is maiden name just like a really antiquated
My
bullshit
God,
way
I
to
never
refer to
even
somebody's,
that's
you know
hilarious. I've never even thought of what that word means, but
Yeah, it's
maiden, yes, it's so
gross. It's
gross. It's a
so
lady in
disgusting.
waiting. It's a
It is.
lady
Oh,
in
a
waiting,
maiden. What is this fucking Robin Hood?
just waiting for her man to come collect her so she can be
So
legitimized. Gross.
she had a show on Sirius satellite radio. She would take calls about relationship advice, and she was also the house therapist on Dr. Drew's shows, the celebrity rehab shows, and that's how I remember her.
She is not for me. I do
She's not
not
for me
care for
either.
her. She is too much about being a friend as opposed to a purposeful professional, and she
It
always has been.
Yeah.
But I did have the thought of like because the therapist that I choose, people like Erica Jane would never go to therapy if that's the only type that was available. So I'm glad that for like preening narcissists, there is some limited help available from sources like this. This was a paid gig. She was there to justify Erica's terrible behavior, claiming that it had to do with Lexapro and alcohol mixing, but it that is unacceptable behavior, and no therapist that I want to see would be forgiving of that in an office, let alone for public consumption. I would want someone to say like, I know you were mixing alcohol and Lexapro, and that's no excuse for the way you behaved. May you
No.
never do it again, but we're not going to pretend like we can shrug that off as if you didn't tell a minor to fuck off.
I mean, show of hands, who here has behaved like Erica fucking Jane when they've been on Lexapro and drank? No, I have not, ever, and I've been on that medication. It's granted it was years ago. Pretty sure I drank on it. I know you're not quote unquote supposed to, but I was never a drinker that drank more than my body could. My body would say no after a while, you know? But God, that was so, again, no responsibility at all.
No, and I
Just
died laughing that Erica, instead of saying I've stopped drinking, she goes, "Well, I'm off Lexapro now." And I was like, "You're doing this wrong." Like, if the problem is that the medication you're taking to balance your brain chemistry is interacting with alcohol, you don't remove the medication that's balancing your brain chemistry. You
mhm.
remove the alcohol.
Oh my
Nothing is
god.
right. Everything's and the therapist was just like, "Uh-huh, okay, and that's fine because you've done a lot of work." And I was like, "No, Dr.
I
Jen,
yeah.
she's not fine. She doesn't know what empathy is, and she's been working with you for 2.5 years. Nothing's fine."
She kept asking, "But how? But how? But how?" And I was like, "Oh my god." And even Josh made some comments. It's like empathy is one of those things that happens just you watch that commercial, that fucking god awful commercial that should have a trigger warning that comes up with a dog shivering in a cage. Like when you have that like pang in you that comes up, that's empathy. Read the fucking news any goddamn day right now, and that is empathy. It is it to me, it's just a knee jerk. Like I don't have to think about being empathetic. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do if it's dealing with someone that I don't think deserves empathy. I could go off, never mind. But it's not something that I feel like most people or all the people in my life have to work on or that are confused about.
No,
I
but
don't know.
that's why I do wonder if Erica Jane is a true narcissist, because if it doesn't apply to her, the shivering dog in the cage doesn't have to do with her life. So it doesn't, for a narcissist, that won't even make
Mm,
entry
mhm,
because it's not
mhm.
immediately relevant to them, what they look like, how their money's doing, who they're fucking. It's just like not, it doesn't matter. But that like you and I are so separated from that experience. We err on the other side, which is also, problematic, which is why we're in
Right.
therapy. Like,
Yes, yes.
but it was, I agree with you. This whole scene, my jaw was just on the ground. I was like, what do you mean? How do you access empathy? What do you mean? What do you and again, the fact that the therapist, she gave the explanation that we learn in kindergarten of like you put yourself in the other person's shoes. Have you never conceived of this
I
until you're into your 50s?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah,
You
yikes
are
is
that's terrifying. No
terrifying.
wonder you don't give a rip about Tom Girardi's victims. No wonder you're blaming Tom Girardi for dying when he supported you financially and made you a housewife and made you a pop star
Oh my
for
god.
decades. Like she's just so, I don't want to understand
I don't
how she
either.
makes sense of the world because it's so backwards that it's disturbing.
It's disturbing. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anyone had to be taught what empathy is or how to
And
achieve
still
it.
not be able
Yeah.
to internalize it. It
She
was
would
just
It
amazing.
she was, like, asking for, like, "Okay, so step 1,
Yeah.
I do the okay, and then step 2, okay, I do this." Like,
Yeah,
n
the
it
doctor was like, "Consider what the experience might be like," and Erica Jane goes, "For them, for them, for them, for them." She went on some, like, weird, like, AI loop of just saying "for them," and
Holy
it's like, the fact
shit.
that those words hadn't occurred to you before is remarkable.
It was
Anyways, I have no hope for Erica Jane. I
two and a
think she's
half
just
years of therapy, it doesn't seem like she's any different than she was,
no,
ever.
she was
Mm-mm.
she came into Eagle Woman's circle with 2.5 years of therapy under her belt. And the first thing she does is blame everyone, justify everything, give an apology that says if in front of it, which means you're crazy. I don't understand
Right.
what you're upset about. Like everything she's doing. And I know she's an ultimate beginner, but she's not trying to get well. This feels like it feels like a PR move of like, let me tell the world that I'm seeking help so that they think I care about cussing at a teenager, a minority for the record. Just
My
add that
god,
little
my
layer
god,
on
my god, my
someone who
god, my
receives
god.
too much of like I don't know. She's just and then trying to separate herself from Tom. It's just all calculated and poorly calculated and I can't stand her. I can't
I can't either.
she's the true villain for me. Kyle's annoying. Erica's frightening.
Erica's frightening, you're right, and if we are to we saw, the coming attractions for the rest of the season, and it's clear that she hasn't
She doesn't
changed a
change.
lick.
She doesn't evolve at all.
Oh, man, man, man.
All right, so now we go to the most disgusting pizza. I love pizza. I'll eat pizza, any kind of pizza. Pizza never looks disgusting to me until Dorit puts it on a cookie sheet. And then I was like, you ruined it. You ruined it. So, what a tragic dinner, clearly presented by a woman who rarely to never has pizza. This is, sorry, Dorit and Kyle.
Dorit and Kyle. God, you know what? I didn't even write notes about this fucking
Oh,
scene.
it was just boring. PK says that Kyle, it's at Dorit's
Kyle only
house.
eats water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kyle eats water. Dorit puts out her Hermes plates.
Oh, God.
Kyle reveals she stopped drinking for her physical and spiritual well being. And this, all of that is sort of a result of her falling out with Kathy. And this is sort of where she makes that pronouncement of, I'm not going to be mistreated by anybody. I didn't do anything to deserve what Kathy said and has said and done, and enough is enough. And I appreciate that. And that is the moment, in my opinion, where you go to therapy so you
Right.
don't screw everything up.
Right. I agree. The only thing that kept bothering me, the thing that I kept hyper fixating on is that I think that the large candle that was in between that was on the dining table, I believe it was a really big 3-wick diptyque, and the thought of eating food while a strong scented candle is burning just made me really, like, kind of a little bit nauseous.
That whole room was so morbid. It was so dark and like it just didn't
Ah.
feel like I didn't want to. Again, I'm like, you spent your money wrong, guys. Like,
Oh.
and that candle is huge. That's probably an $800
Oh,
candle
at least,
because it's
at
in that,
least.
like matte black,
Yeah,
like
yeah, it was a
whatever.
bucket.
Yeah, it was insane.
And Dorit talks about how she didn't think for a while that she and PK were gonna make it, and,
I love that she made it about herself. Hilarious.
ay, 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 ay,
I will
ay.
say this was the moment when Kyle talked about being the baby sister and how now she's hit her limit of accepting unacceptable behavior from anyone, whether it's Kathy or Mauricio or her friends or whatever. And I don't often relate to Kyle, but in this instance, I get it. Like I have a tendency toward that kind of overcorrection as well. And what I work on in therapy that has been up for the last, it's come into my life since 2016. I've had a couple serious instances of where I need to learn how to detach with love rather than detaching with the hatchet.
Mm,
Like I went through a personal breakup and a professional breakup in 2016, and that was hatchet central. That was just, I let myself get to the point of being pushed to the ultimate edge. And then I turned around and I was like, fuck you all forever. And I regret it. And I look forward to getting to ninth step amends and figuring out what to do with this regret. I don't know if it means taking any action toward those particular people or if it means in the future that I'm a little more careful about how I detach. And the same thing with the situation that happened in 2020, a workplace situation, hatchet. Just, you're dead to me. Everyone that's connected to you who wronged me are dead to me. And I don't like that feeling. It's hard to walk through the world. Like, if I run into people that I've hatcheted out of my life, whether they know it or not, I'm bothered by it. I'm bothered by my extreme, live and let live is how I'd prefer to move through the world, as opposed
Mhm.
to you're dead to me, off I go.
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
like that. So
Hmm.
I worry for Kyle. I'm looking forward to seeing how this does not work for her, so I can be reminded to continue my work on loving detachment as opposed to hatchet detachment. So
Huh.
it's
Okay.
complex. Like, it's obviously, I've been working on
Yeah.
it since 2016 and I have no solution yet,
'Cause
working
I think
closely
I
with
I
the
think I
therapist and
know
stuff.
I think I know the situations that you're talking about, and
You
I'm not
do.
sure I'm not sure
Intimately.
I'm not sure I agree. I think that going no contact with those people felt/feels appropriate. But
I don't disagree. I just wonder, I still am, there's still some heat with hatred,
uh-huh.
and I want to get rid of that.
That
I
that I
loved these people dearly,
support. I get
loved
it.
them for years.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
don't love that there's, when I think about them, that switch flips where I go like, ugh, as opposed to just being like, oh, right. Those people who, somebody that I used to know. I knew them and I loved them as people that they were for a time in my life where our paths aligned. And then our paths diverged dramatically and significantly. But I don't want to, I don't know. I just don't want to, I don't want to give, heat requires energy and I don't want to give that energy. Like, I would rather either find a way to, like, what?
I wanna give that energy to one of them. I know that.
Well,
I
listen,
know
I wrote
that.
a whole freaking show where I talk about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
I say it on stage. I'm not over it, but I am
I
working on it. And I
Yeah,
guess I'll just make a pitch to myself and to everyone else of, like, therapy is a long-term commitment. Something that happened
100%.
in 2016 and another thing that happened in 2020, I am still carrying, even though it's lighter. The burden is lighter without a doubt, but I'm not done. I will work on this for until I'm done working on it, because I'm Kyle, because it's a reaction to something deeper in my life. People who I trusted in my childhood betrayed me. And so
Yes.
now in my adulthood, I have no chill when it comes to managing that same situation. And so I just keep digging,
Oh,
peeling back layers, trying to figure
exactly.
out how I want to move through the world with these experiences. So, anyways.
And unfortunately for adult children of alcoholics, setting boundaries with people seems scarier than just cutting them out of your life,
And that
you
is
know?
what my therapist had worked with me on, leading into this big explosive moment in my life in 2020. She had been working with me on, she would always talk about, just open the door a little bit at a time. What you do, Margie, is you see someone that you think is cool or that you like, and then you fling the doors wide open. You tell them everything about yourself. You do everything with them, everything for them, like everything. And it took a huge instance of that blowing up in my face for me to be like, now I see what you were talking about. So
Mhm.
moving forward, I'm doing a better job of that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I also still have some stuff that needs to be cleaned up from these people who I loved and who, we're no longer good for each other. We don't make each other the best people in our lives. So they need to be out of my life. And I don't want to feel icky when I think about them or talk about them or whatever.
Ugh, this
Anyways,
is why I still want what you have, honestly. Honestly, this is why I still want what you have.
it's just ongoing. It's forever. It's just,
It
there's
is
no
forever.
finish line with therapy,
Mm-mm.
or if there is, when I reach it, I'll tell everyone where it
Oh,
is and
God.
direct them immediately. But,
Totally. Oh. So then we're with Garcelle and her beautiful, gorgeous yeah,
They're
we're moving to Garcelle,
yes.
right?
Oh, I just grabbed my heart because
They're
I loved
so
seeing a
fucking
mom and her
cute. I
boys. There's something
know.
so cute about
God.
that relationship, and I love the boys' relationship with each other.
Yeah.
They're so funny and sweet and stupid and buffoonery all around. I loved
Buffoonery. That was hilarious.
it.
This scene broke my heart. The scene on the
I
beach broke my heart. Broke it.
yes.
Broke it.
I thought it was so beautifully handled. Like Garcelle initially, I've learned in therapy and 12-step rooms that there's a difference between a reaction and a response.
Yes.
And initially she reacts. Her kid's like, I want more freedom. And she goes, you have plenty of freedom. And then she takes a breath and she responds and says, I feel like you don't let me parent you.
Mm,
And that's so much more vulnerable and so much
100%.
harder to say, and it leads to a harder conversation, but a much more
Yes.
meaningful conversation and one that will connect them forever. But agreed, fucking heartbreaking that this boy said, I needed your interest in parenting 2 years ago,
Oh,
and that time
God.
has passed, and now where do we go from here? And it was like
Yeah, and she can't win. She loves
no.
her work and she has to work.
And she adores
She's a
her
single
kids.
mom and she adores her kids and she wants them to have, you know, the best life they can have. And oh goddamn.
And I love that she talked about how this is new parenting territory for her, that her
Adored
mom,
it.
yeah, because I'm sure we had a similar experience of
Uh-huh.
like in the
Uh-huh.
80s or whatever, we got blanket parenting. You
Blanket
parent one
parenting.
way, everybody operates under the same rules, the expectations are the same, it doesn't matter who you are. And Garcelle is trying a new way. It's a brave new world for her. And it comes with its own pitfalls. It's better than what she got, but it's still never going to be perfect. And also, try to please a 15-year-old. You couldn't, when I
Right.
was 15, good luck, mom. My
Right.
mom started dating when I was that age. And I was awful to her. I didn't want her around, I thought. But then when she said, one time I came home late and she was like, "What about your family?" And I just said, "What family?" And stormed upstairs. But what I was saying to her is like, "I miss you and I hate that you spend so much time with your boyfriend. And
Mm,
I'm mad that you're mad at me for spending time with my friends. I miss you and now you're mad at me. Fuck that." But I didn't have words for that at
no.
15. So I just said something
Nor
hateful
should
and
you
stormed
have.
away.
Yeah.
I should have been in therapy. My
Well,
sister
I
and I
mean, yeah,
absolutely
but
should have been plopped in therapy.
at
No,
that point,
it
it's
didn't
the parents'
exist.
job to get you into
And
therapy
it didn't
if
exist in
and
the
it
way it
didn't
does now.
it
We went
was
once and it was insane. They sent us both, my parents put us both, we had a joint session with my mom's therapist. And it was like, this is insane. We were like, we're fine. The only advice he gave us was don't marry until you're at least 30. So my sister ignored that advice and got married when she was 27, and that became a whole thing. And I never got married.
Mhm.
So great work, Dr. Warren,
Oh my
founder of
god.
eHarmony.
Oh, that's right. Holy shit, Margee.
Anyways, what
Holy
a life.
shit, holy shit. I loved it too. I wrote that down as well. We need to look at the child and not blanket parenting, and it is so hard. It's so hard. Yeah.
It takes so much
Uh,
effort to learn who your kids are as
it
individuals and
really
address their individual needs,
yes, it
while
does.
also understanding that you're working through stages of life with people who aren't complete yet. Like I
Yeah.
just find parenting to be mystical. I don't know how anyone does it. And no one can do it perfectly. There's just not a soul. It's simply never going to be possible. And that must be I would be defeated by that every morning. I'd have to work against that every morning of like, what do you mean you can't get it right? This perfect little creature, even with a stupid dog, I get upset when I like feel like I left her for too long or she hasn't had a play date. It's a dog.
I
It's
know, but
fine.
I know. That's because you have empathy and you didn't have to ask Dr. Mann, formerly Dr. Jen Berman of Dr. Drew's Celebrity Rehab. How do you have empathy? Now, step
For them.
one,
For
first
them.
I right.
For them.
Uh,
Insane.
that scene was real as hell. That scene on the beach with Garcelle and her boys. It
And
really
I also
was.
loved this was a scene that ended how you would want a written sitcom to end with this deep conversation with one son. And then she's like, and how about you? I forget the other kid's name. What's his name? Jax
That's
and
Jade.
Jade. Jade.
Mhm.
She asked Jade, like, "How about you? What do you want to say? This is your opportunity to talk about how we run the household." And he's like, "I miss Ashlyn."
I miss
And she was like, "Oh, good
Ashlyn.
Lord." And I was like, "Perfect.
I loved that he felt comfortable
Me
enough
too."
to tell his mom to talk about being obsessed with his girlfriend,
And
I
how
thought it was so
appropriate.
cute. Exactly.
He's 15, he should be obsessed with his girlfriend, he shouldn't wanna be on camera anymore, like, it's been a long day of getting gas and driving to the beach, I'm sure he's
Oh,
like, "And I'm ready to see my girlfriend, let's
so
go."
cute. So
Adorable.
cute. Oh, and then we find ourselves at the Umansky household. And if Mauricio was on a real call with his real assistant, then I am a 21-year-old Angelina Jolie. I just want to say that. I did not believe one fucking word of the I don't think he was on a real phone call.
I feel like he paid someone to be on the other side of that, but
Oh
I'm
my
with you,
god.
because it looked like he was just having, like,
Oh my
cool guy
god.
talking points. He's like, "So I'm going to Portugal, and then, oh, that means I can't go to Coachella weekend too?
Oh my
You're
god.
100." And as someone who's 100 and went to Coachella for years, out of her age zone, like, I come on, man. Like, just don't put it on camera. It's embarrassing for everyone.
Oh my god. He's
You
all,
need to go
"I'm
to
officing. I'm officing." Yeah.
And
And then
the
his
weird thing is he is actually, like, so busy and successful, but to hear him talking about Coachella, Portugal, and golf dates with Bob, I was like, "This is not what I wanna watch this man, this mogul doing on his phone right now."
with his new teeth,
Oh, I know.
with his distracting ass, super white, too big ass teeth.
They look, like, wet.
It
They're like
was
yeah, they're big. They're yeah, not a subtle upgrade, Mo.
oh,
You really
damn.
just went all in.
I was so uncomfortable watching this whole scene. I was so uncomfortable watching this whole fucking scene with Kyle and Mauricio. And it
She's
was
yeah.
really it was startling, and I had to get my bearings to see Kyle in this mindset. And that's not Kyle. That has nothing to do with Kyle. I fully support if she in this new endeavor that she's finding, however she wants to live her life, I support. And I want her to be happy. I want her to be free from her ACOA stuff that holds her back. And it
Adult children
was
of alcoholics, for anyone
yes,
who's
thank you. Sorry
unfamiliar with
about
the
that.
acronym.
Yes.
No,
Acronym is adult child of an alcoholic or adult children of alcoholics. Yes, because just because the alcoholic is no longer in your life on a daily basis or weekly or monthly or yearly, it does not fucking matter. It
no,
doesn't
it if
matter.
and
That wiring is in there.
and Kyle is a perfect example,
Yes.
of my experience, which is it's not just that relationship. It affects every
Every
relationship you have,
relationship.
romantic, personal, professional, any relationship you have in your lifetime, in my experience, that foundational alcoholic upbringing touches, it's a lifelong journey to
It
sort of
is. It
work
is.
through it all.
Oh, Lord. So, where do we start with this one? Where do we start?
I mean, I just got the bulk of the scene was about the tattoos, how many she has and what they are, and if she'll have more. And to me, in my head, I was just like, it's not about the pasta. Like, it is
Yeah.
not about the tattoos. Mauricio came off as controlling, saying, like, that's enough sugar bear or sugar bean or whatever he calls
Love
her.
bean.
Love bean.
Yeah.
No more tattoos. And that Kyle is, in her adolescence of this
Totally.
new attitude, and she's like, I don't have to explain myself to anyone. And it's like, you don't, but it's not about the tattoos. What is really going on? This is where I was like, please go to therapy. You're yelling at your husband about something that isn't what it's about. And Mauricio's taking the bait, and it was so ugly to see him be all
Oh.
controlling and saying, like, just don't do it because you're rebelling. And I did love her. She said, listen, I'm very fucking clear right now. I'm not rebelling. I'm just really clear. And I was like, I believe that to be true. And you need a therapist to help you communicate this to your family because you're doing a bad job right now.
I completely
He's
believe that it's true.
confused.
Yeah,
He's very
it
confused.
is, and he probably felt, I mean, if my footing felt off watching her in her new era, I can imagine that he felt, a million times that kind of, "What? What's happening?" I don't know what it says about their marriage that I have evolved over my husband's and my 9-year anniversary was 2 nights ago. I was sick, we were both exhausted. he bought me some beautiful flowers, and we have a lot going on right now, so we decided a long time ago, or a few weeks ago rather, not to get each other gifts. It felt like that was gonna be something
Too
that we quote
much
unquote should
pressure.
should do, but not,
Mhm.
what we necessarily wanted to do at that time. And like I said, there's a lot going on. So, but we have both evolved over these last 9 years, and we've both evolved since we have just gotten together, period. And I have not been I have championed my husband's evolution, I want him to be happy and fulfilled and sure of himself, and everything you want for the people you love, I want for my husband, and I know he wants it for me too. And I don't dress the same I did when we first got together. I don't have the need to be, society's idea of what attractive is, whether or not that's because I was definitely deep in that when we met. I wanted to look a certain way and yada yada. If Mauricio can't be supportive of Kyle's evolution to become her more or most authentic self, that is concerning. And his just the way his face was reacting, like his
Mm.
brow furrowing when she said, "It's my body. I can choose to get more tattoos if I want." And the way he just looked, I was like, "Oh my God, who are you, Mauricio? Who the fuck are you? Like,
I
this
mean
is gross. I'm grossed out by you, and it's not just your fucking teeth."
I agree. I just think they were having 2 different conversations. So I think he was trying to have a conversation about tattoos, and Kyle is having a much bigger conversation of like, I'm done. I'm done pleasing Kathy. I'm done pleasing you. I'm done pleasing everybody. I'm gonna go hang out with Morgan Wade. Fuck Portugal. Enjoy your trip. Go golf with Bob. See if I care. But don't talk to me about what I do. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah,
her conversation was this big global new
right.
concept of what is our relationship. And he was like, I don't care for more than 5 tattoos. And she was
Oh,
like it just
God.
felt like, same world, different planets kind
And
of
then,
thing.
well, maybe you should be paying attention to my body more. I was all,
That
oh
was
God,
snarky and shitty.
I wanted to fucking Homer Simpson gif into the bushes. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes,
I'm watching a fucking television show.
I felt the same.
Oh my
It was so,
God.
and to put that on camera, like she did that intentionally. And that's where I was like, Kyle, you've got to go to therapy. You're going to damage your family. Your kids are going to see this. The way you're behaving is snarky and shitty and indirect. You have something else to say to this man, and you're talking about, they're tiny tattoos. He obviously doesn't really care. He hasn't noticed the last 3
Oh,
that have made it onto her
shit.
body. So I wish, yeah, it's clear that maybe Kyle is trying to stave off this big conversation until after the season wrapped, which she was semi-successful in doing, but they picked up cameras again, obviously, after it was over, after the separation news came out. But yeah, it was weird. It's also upsetting, unnerving to see Mauricio enter that scene playing the role that he's played the last 13 years of like, hi, honey, after she just whined at him, yelled at him.
There was some resentment simmering already in the back of her mind, or in the forefront of her mind, but it came out in a splattery way because she wasn't being direct with him about what was really going on.
And he was still playing
Whoo!
the role he'd been assigned,
You're
saying like,
right.
"You look great, you're eating great, you've stopped drinking, you're working out, your body
Oh,
looks," which was also just, but that's how they used to be. I
you're
think that's
right.
why it was so dissonant, is because Mauricio was playing the role we know him to play, and Kyle usually goes like, "Oh, honey, thanks," and they kiss and are so proud of their marriage. But now Kyle, yeah,
She
is
tore the rug from underneath him, and he doesn't know what to do.
yes, and I feel for him a little bit on that front because it's sort of like, I remember when my sister's husband announced why he would be breaking up the marriage and announced that he'd spent 6 years coming to that decision. He basically a lifetime, but in the last 6 years he'd been making some active decisions that were going to end the marriage, and he was the only one who had that information. So the rest of us were like, "What, what, what,
Yeah.
what, what?" And
Yeah.
even my initial reaction to him uh, saying he would be leaving, initially I had the reaction that I had to the man that I'd known for the 20 years prior. As information came in and I came to understand what had been going on his lifetime slash the last 6 years that led him to this decision, I was like, oh, wait, we're having a very different conversation. I thought I thought one thing, and as I've come to understand all of the information that led you to this moment in time, we need to have a very different conversation.
Yeah.
So I feel for Mauricio being like, I think I know who you are, but actually I'm coming to uh, have some concerns that I don't at all, and that maybe
Huh.
something much bigger is at play here.
Do I have compassion or empathy for Mauricio?
Only for me, only in the fact that he doesn't seem to have the same information Kyle does
Right.
entering this conversation. That's it.
Right. Right.
Because yeah,
God, I wonder though if she's been dropping hints and
I
he's
think
not
so, but he's
getting
not.
it,
Yeah, she
but
clearly she's tattooing her body and he hasn't noticed. He's not paying attention to her.
that's
Like
yeah,
the
I think
marriage
that's
should be ending, but this conversation was weird because she's groomed him to be who he was in the scene, but she's entered the scene as a
she changed the
totally
rules,
different
but she didn't
person.
tell him.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
But again, that's my
Oh.
alcoholic upbringing reaction of like, I thought I knew the rules and they're changing. And so now I'm mad about that too. So, we all bring, again, I bring my own
Oh,
crap to every episode of this show. And
absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
episode gave me endless places to bring my crap.
Endless. I mean, I'm still thinking about it. I watched it twice. I didn't watch it on Wednesday because I was sick and I couldn't. That's how I know I'm sick. If I'm not going to get out of the fucking bed to watch the premiere and
hmm
everything that's going on. I mean, because there's just, you know, story after story dropping in the tabs right now about like relevant to this cast, and it's coming out in real time while the show's running. Like I know that that's not a mistake. I know how the Hollywood machine works, but it's giving a lot. It's going to be a good season hopefully, and I'm so grateful we get to discuss it
Yeah,
here.
me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to make a quick apology. I mean, I guess it's nice that it's before Halloween. There's so much knocking going on around. There's a knock at my front door, there's roof work happening. So, to any listeners who may be distracted by the occasional pounding that's coming on my end, and let's call it Halloween theme, and hopefully these guys will be done by next week. This roof work has
Listen,
been going on for an eternity. I'm just I'm tired of banging around. And they have a ladder right outside my kitchen window. I've come to know them very well over the past couple of weeks. We greet each other. They're lovely, but like, I feel crazy because there's just constant banging going on. And so I
yeah.
just feel like it's madness. Anyways,
Well, what are
apologize
you
to
going
any
to do?
listener who
What are you
gets
going to
a
do?
whiff of that. Yep.
Yeah, and speaking of apologies, I know we usually come out with this episode the morning after. I was under the weather, completely exhausted, and it just would not have been a good show if we recorded yesterday. So, and this episode is extra long because it was extra triggering, extra chock full of what we both talk about in therapy. I mean,
And like you said, it's these women who inspired us to start
mm-hmm,
this podcast because
mm-hmm,
it's their issues that, for whatever reason, speak to ours most directly a lot of the time. So, yeah,
exactly.
they delivered.
They
They
sure did, and I'm
came
so
in.
glad Rinna isn't there. I'm so glad Rinna isn't there. I didn't even miss her last night. Didn't miss her at
No,
all.
I was annoyed when Erica Jane brought her up. I was like, just let her go away.
I know.
They flashed briefly that email on the screen where she was like, I quit. Thanks for 8 years. And I was like, bye.
Bye, see
Don't miss
ya.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Go take care of your vintage clothes, bitch. Do not put them on a fucking in a garage on the street. I was mad. I felt bad for her clothes. I felt bad for her vintage shit. Oh God, who cares a shit? Honestly, I'm
She should,
sorry. Who cares?
no,
Who cares?
it's no. You care. You understand vintage clothing. You obviously recognize Jennifer Tilly's look as
Oh
something.
God, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
I
So,
love
yeah.
Jennifer Tilly. Margie, what else did you watch this week?
This week, well, I just on my mind right now is I watched Southern Charm last night, and it's ridiculous, that show, and this year they're having to address some grief stuff, and again, as you know, during the pandemic, I became an end-of-life doula so that I could address my own issues with grief. I know there's some on the table with your family at the moment, and it's just, it's one of those things that I love about reality TV is there's occasionally a universal experience that no amount of money, no amount of prestige, you can't escape loss and grief in life. It's just part of life. And it's interesting to watch people's different levels of comfort with supporting people through grief, people's different coping mechanisms, their levels of ability to sit with extreme, unfair discomfort.
Oh, God.
So, it's everything that Southern Charm is. It's just ridiculous people like drinking and sending nudes around. And then this year, there's also like this other story where you get to see like how people, even as much as they're mostly villains on that show, there's some of them are capable of showing up for their friends and capable of sharing experiences. And it's just interesting. It's interesting. It's a different version of Southern Charm than I've ever seen before. So it has
Wow.
my attention. I watched the Roni reunion. I really could care less. I
Oh my
don't
God.
remember anything from it. And that was pretty much it for this week.
Yeah,
How
I'm
about
trying to
you?
yeah, I caught up on Paradise and The Golden Bachelor, and I couldn't tell you shit about either one of the episodes I watched from last week, but it was enjoyable. It
Good,
was
good.
enjoyable at the time, just like a fucking hot fudge sundae, like nothing to think about
Yes.
today, but at the moment it was enjoyable and delectable. I'm glad that this weekend I can, have a mini binge because I didn't watch them on Thursday. Yeah, I was in San Diego, so I didn't really we didn't really watch a lot. We watched some reruns of we've watched I Think You Should Leave about 3 times, and we started watching it again, and it is if anybody out there has not watched I Think You Should Leave on Netflix, I beg of you. I beg of you. It is so wacky and so fucking hilarious, and I I don't think I've ever rewound a show more than I've rewound that. Maybe oh, yeah, I did watch a couple episodes of Big Mouth, and that's another one I like to rewind because you just lose, like, the little lines, but those are the ones that are most hilarious, but I Think You Should Leave is Emmy-worthy fucking comedy.
It's expert comedy.
It
It's
is
so funny. And every season delivers at the same level. He is hilarious and
oh my
known to
god.
be one of the kindest human
Oh,
beings in the
thank God. Okay,
industry.
good. I
And
couldn't
he
handle it.
employs his friends. And I'm sure you noticed that cast, it's not faces you recognize. It's
No.
he casts like I don't know if you ever watched The Detroiters with him and Sam Richardson, also
No.
hilarious if you need a recommendation. They cast locals from Michigan. Like they're just like wonderful people with the sharpest, strangest, most unique sense of
Oh my
humor
god.
that like I literally like even just thinking about it, my cheeks hurt. I'm
Me
starting to
too!
like sweat and giggle because
Totally!
I can't I cannot calm down. It does exactly what I want comedy to do. It's this involuntary, overwhelming like laughter
Oh my god.
response. Like I'm so happy you brought that up. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely going to watch the pink bag sketch the second we get off just to make myself giggle.
My favorite is the Santa Claus one. My favorite is the Santa Claus one. We one night we watched it like 3 times in a row, just that little skit. It's fucking brilliant, and I remember the
Everything is brilliant. Even the very first sketch when he's pushing the pull door
oh
and
god.
it's just
Oh my
like it's
god.
so stupid and it
It's
goes on
so
forever
stupid,
and I
yeah.
can't get enough of it. I
It took me
love
a
that show.
It took me a beat to get into it because it's not typically, like, my type of comedy from the jump, but once I was in, I was like, "This is fucking brilliant. Where is the next goddamn season? I want more." It is it's the best. It's
I don't
so
wanna be
funny.
here anymore.
Oh my god,
That one
so
where he's
funny.
all dressed up in the mall, he goes to those great lengths to put on the prosthetics, and then he's
Yes.
basically
Oh
acknowledging
my
that he's
god.
suicidal and, like anyways, it's brilliant. It
It's so
clearly
good.
there's so much, like, emotional depth to the people writing and performing that
Yes.
because it all seems silly and superficial, but I never laugh that hard unless something deep inside me is being, like, activated,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
Every single
exactly.
sketch, I cannot
Every
think of a
single
dud. There's not a single dud on all 3 seasons, so
it's so funny, and the episodes are, like, 21 to 22 minutes long.
and
It's
you can just
just
watch one at a time. It's bite
yeah,
size. It's à la carte
exactly. It's
with cute
so
little
fucking good.
70s musical intro, like, interludes in between. It's great.
And then we watched the Roni reunion, Honk Shoe, Honk Shoe,
Yeah.
so boring. Like, so boring there shouldn't be 2 parts. Like, obviously, I'm gonna watch it, but so fucking boring.
Agree. It's offensively boring, especially because they spent most of the time congratulating themselves of how great their season was. And I was like, I missed it then.
Yeah.
Because Andy was like, you guys are great. And I forget, maybe it was even Uba, who's my favorite, who was like, say it again, we're great. And they were all like, yeah, we're great. And I'm like, you're not, move it along.
Yeah.
Like,
And we watched Saturday Night Live with Bad Bunny, and it was fine. It was fine. I don't know why that show is still on. Can I say that out loud?
because of the strike, you mean?
Well, that too, but mostly because I don't okay, I will say I any reason I get to watch Bo and Yang, I will take. So, for that reason, I am very glad the Saturday Night Live is still on.
I
And
mean, I
yeah.
like it just because now that I'm old, I just like having something like a cultural thread that's like gone
Okay,
through
fair,
generations.
fair.
And
I'd
it
miss
does,
it if it was gone. You're right, you're right.
yeah, and it
Yeah,
launches a lot of talent that I love, you
100%
know?
true. Yes,
I
you're right,
wouldn't
you're right.
I wouldn't have seen them otherwise, and I'm not sure they would have gotten as big otherwise. So I'm
You're right.
happy for that. But at this moment in time, the actors are still trying to work out a deal, and I'm not clear why Lorne Michaels is like using he can waive, it can be passed, I guess, as a variety reality. I don't know
Yeah.
how he's doing that, but I don't think it's been a long time that everyone's been on strike, and it's slowing down production
Oh
schedules, not having
god.
actors, because writers are working now, but actors aren't available to do the work. And so schedules are getting pushed again, which puts anyways, yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I appreciated that Bad Bunny was the host because, he's a musician and hopefully not SAG after us. So they weren't violating in that way. But, you know, I'm not enjoying watching it right now because I'm like, can we please just get everybody back to work and
That's
then
fair.
we can enjoy it?
That's
So,
100% fair. I agree with every single point you brought up.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't wanna live in a world where I don't know who Adie Bryant is, and if sh that's how I got to know her
A
because it's SNL, then
100%.
fuck it. Then
And
yes, you're right.
Kristen Wiig and Will
Yes, you're
Ferrell,
absolutely
and I
right.
mean, it's just but you're right. It's sort of like watching The Bachelor so that you can watch Bachelor in Paradise and enjoy a
Exactly.
better show. So it's like we
Yes.
put our time in with
Yes.
SNL, some really exquisite, outrageous, amazing sketches, mostly forgettable, but then we get talents that we watch for the rest of our lives out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
What was your antidepressant this week?
My antidepressant this week was on Wednesday. My mom turned 82 years old. I mentioned her
Oh.
Kermit the Frog legs
Oh my
earlier.
god. Oh my god.
But for the first time in years, she threw herself a party at her place.
Mm.
And my mom is she has a piling problem. There's lots of things in her home. But she, at 82, was like, you know what? I want to have my friends here. I have a beautiful view of the mountains. I want them to sit outside on my balcony and celebrate with me. And I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to wait till I get this cleaned up to have people over. And she
Oh,
invited her close friends over. I went over to help her set up. And, she's like, I haven't hosted in years. I'm like, well, you just need plates and forks and things. So I was happy I got to be a part of like the setup. And then she said she had like a great night. Like her two closest friends stayed for hours and they're of the age now. My mom was like, well, Lila doesn't normally stay because she's in pain in most chairs, but I have a chair that she really liked. So we talked for hours. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cute.
that's so
But
cute.
I'm so grateful. Like, obviously, I'm in therapy because my upbringing was not ideal and perfect, but my mom is wonderful. I'm so grateful she's alive. 82 is ancient. Her mom died when her mom was in her late 60s. So my mom considers every year since bonus years, and we're edging into 20 bonus years here.
Yeah.
And she's independent and she's active and she's losing her marbles, but she knows it. So she can have a sense of humor about it. But it's just normal wear and tear on the brain that's been functioning for 82 years. So, like, I worry about her here and there. I know we're in the sunset years, but like a day like Wednesday was so lovely to see my mom just be like, I love my friends. I want them here. My space is
Oh,
imperfect.
so glad.
And, yeah, it was lovely. So that was my antidepressant,
I
my
love that.
Kermit the Frog leg
Oh my
82-year-old
god.
mama
Oh
having a
my god.
party
Oh my
and
god.
helping her set up.
So evocative.
How about
Holy
you?
shit.
What's your
Well,
antidepressant?
we went to San Diego last week, and we went to my husband's best friend's memorial on Sunday, and it was really beautiful and lots of tears and lots of love and lots of seeing faces that I love that I haven't seen in a long time. And we were there for a few days before, and I got to hang out with three of my best friends. It nourishes me so much, like body, mind, and soul. And it nourishes me to see my husband play music. He goes into this place where his face is just so he's just in bliss. That's like the only word I can describe it is fucking it's just otherworldly bliss. And it's a bliss I see when he's playing music because the memorial included a lot of musician friends, and I was so happy that my son got to see his dad play, and I was heartbroken that he wasn't watching his dad play with his best friend and bandmate. Like, ugh, it just gutted me. But my point is, it was a really loving week. It was just so full of love and mini reunions. And I'm really lucky that I have these friendships that I've had since I was 15 and 20. And my son got to see his dad play and then meeting new people. And it just was so great. And I think I kind of crashed when we got home. I think that definitely contributed to me kind of finally. My nose was running a lot in San Diego. So I knew I was going to get sick. And then I just kind of went there. But yeah, it was just so great, and again, without my trip to Portland coming up for Thanksgiving, I don't know what I would do because it was so emotional that if I didn't have that thing to look forward to, I'd feel really unmoored. And 3 separate people at the memorial came up to me and said that they listened to the podcast and they love the podcast. And
Hey.
I was so it's just made me so fucking happy. It made me really happy. It was not what I was expecting in a million years. And just to know that, you know, I knew people were going to give it a listen that were friends because that's what you do. You support your friend, you listen to their podcast, but whether or not you stick with it is another thing. You know, there's
Mhm.
nothing worse than sitting through a podcast that you fucking hate. Like obviously we don't have to do that. So, but when people continue to tune in, it's very affirming, and it's my creative outlet, and so that was just an added bonus. It was it was the Abilify to my fucking Prestique. You know what I mean?
Yes, just
Is
amp
your
it up.
antidepressant not working? Then add this,
Mhm.
and okay. So yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I'm so
Yeah, it
glad.
was a lovely fucking trip, lovely weather, lovely faces. My son got to just meet so many of his parents, nearest and dearest, and I was really happy for that. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a reason funerals are sacraments,
That's true.
like it's so important to gather,
It
and
really is.
often we don't, and like, or those specific groups of people don't seem to gather unless there's like a wedding or a funeral. So I think it's so
Mm.
important that people showed up and that you
Oh,
guys made the effort to drive down there
thousands of
and
people showed
stay.
up. Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine like
Mhm.
the emotion of it all, but
Yeah.
I'm so glad it was like a experience that was, healing as much as it can be at
Yeah.
this stage. And,
Yeah.
you know, I just love you.
I love you. I love you
Yeah.
so much. And we love you, audience. Thank you so much for listening and supporting what Margie and I do. And we love to do it. We love to talk about therapy. We love to talk about housewives. And, this is one of the things that makes me feel like I'm not just a stay-at-home mom.
Oh,
You
that's
know?
huge.
It's major. It's
That's
fucking
huge.
major. And when people ask me like, "Oh, so what do you do?" I can say like, "Oh, I have a podcast." And it makes me very happy because I love it. And I want everyone to be in therapy.
Agreed.
So, and I am an unashamed Bravo watcher. So,
Same.
yeah. Anyway, everyone, thank you for hanging in for this bonus supersized episode of
Yeah, it really took us there,
A
Beverly
Therapeutic
Hills.
Dose. Yeah, it really did. This was a heavy hitter, more than probably any episode we've talked about since we started, probably,
I think
which is
so.
exactly what I expected because
It's the
of
mothership for
the
us.
behavior that we've seen on
Yep.
every year, and then Kathy Hilton made it even more apparent last season. So please rate, review, subscribe. You have no idea how much it helps us to get found by other people that also want to talk about therapy and Bravo. When you rate and review, it really helps us show up more in the algorithm of podcasts. And if you want to share anything with us, you can reach us at atherapeuticdose@gmail.com and on Instagram at A Therapeutic Dose. Yes.
Everybody take good care of
Have a
yourselves.
lovely week.
Have a
Yeah.
happy
Oh, yeah. Have a happy
Halloween.
and safe Halloween.
Yes. And we'll be back next week to discuss episode 2 of
Can't wait.
our Beverly Hills gals.
Yes. All right, Margie, I love you.
I love
I'll
you too.
see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ramona and Margie are obviously not doctors and do not provide medical advice. Their content is intended to be used for entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be, should not be interpreted as, or used as a substitute for medical advice or a diagnosis of any health or fitness problem, condition, or disease, nor a recommendation for a specific test, doctor, care provider, procedure, treatment plan, product, or course of action.
My mom isn't a doctor.